Hello everyone. This is another list review for Saturday's tournament, which is a prep tournament, WTC prep tournament for me. I believe we're going to be four of the people going to the WTC that are actually at the tournament. So we'll see how much prep, but in total we're going to be 14 people. So it's a small but part of it will be a very competitive tournament, but part of it will be just a learning tournament for noobs and for people who want to engage. And this list review that I'm doing today is for Emil H, and he is one of these new players that has popped up during the last year or so of bold action in Denmark. Emil has made a 13 order-dice German reinforced platoon. And Emil, you say to me that you are a new player and that you're maybe not very good. I disagree. At least at list building, you have some very, very good choices. So you know how to do at least that part of the game. Then the other parts can come with experience. So I'll talk you guys through the Emil's list, and I'll make some few suggestions maybe for Emil for how to maybe improve his lists. And then of course when we're at the tournament and I can see people play, he will learn a lot and I will ask questions there as well as part of the training for the WTC, but other people could learn from that as well, I guess. So he starts out with a second lieutenant and 2 extra men. Now many people, myself including, thinks that this is overkill, or that 2 extra dudes is not. Well, you're losing small team. Small team means a -1 to hit, so your lieutenant becomes easier to hit. But having 3 men in that team makes him immune to preparatory bombardment. The team cannot actually die from preparatory bombardment, which a single or 2-man lieutenant team can. And it also means that you're getting quite a lot of assault rifles, which you should be equipping them with. You're getting quite a lot of assault rifles for free, which is pretty good. And a 3-man team can sort of dish out some damage. That's 6 shots coming out. They can potentially kill something, right? So in that respect, your lieutenant becomes more usable. And I guess my aversion to these types of lieutenant teams comes from the fact that I normally never use my lieutenant for anything like remotely killy related. So yeah. Then he has 2 veteran Grenadier Squads, very small squads, 6-man squads. No, 5-man squads. So min-maxing here. Again, something that tells to me that you're not a new player. You may be new at bold action, but you're not a new player. Because you're min-maxing here. You have minimum size units. And you're buying assault rifles and 1 Panzerfaust for all of them. So 1 Panzerfaust in each unit, right? There is something to be said for this, because you're putting out a lot of shots, but you still have very few bodies in the units, so they are vulnerable. Any casualties they take will cost you a lot of points. Each man is worth quite a lot of points in this configuration. So some of us do the opposite, where we cut down on all the extra gear. Because the extra gear is awesome. Assault rifles are really, really good, but they do mean that you spend a lot of more points per man, and every time you lose one, you're losing a lot more power. But there is a reason that Emil does this, and I'll get back to that later on because of other stuff he has in his list. So these are not a bad idea. You might consider at some point in the future, Emil, trying out an engineer unit, Storm Pioneers. They are really good as well, and they also come veteran. So something to play with if you're dissatisfied with how much your veteran grenadiers end up killing. You could play around with storm pioneers instead. Then 2 infantry squads. I really like this because most people will not have enough infantry units in their army lists, simply because of other stuff that's more interesting, Achilles, and looks great on the table. Tanks, right? They are amazing to assemble and look great on the table. A nicely painted tank, that's good, right? But it's infantry that will win you games, and it's infantry that will lose you games if it's not there. So he has 4 infantry units. The 2 units here at the end are Hare infantry. So they're regulars, and they are 6-man units. Each unit has 1 LMG. Now the LMG is normally not worth it points for value, but if you're using them to stay in your own back zone, in your deployment zone, and you just stay in cover, preferably hard cover, and you pump out shots, that will be a perfectly valid little unit. And it's even a little bit better because they're German, so they get Hitler's Buzzsaw, which means an extra shot, right? So the LMG is more worth it if you're using them like that. Still maybe too expensive point for value, but it's better. It's much better. A flamethrower, regular flamethrower team, beware of snipers. They will kill small teams. And the same goes for the next team, which is a Panzertract Team. These 2 teams, both of them are really good. Both of them are really threatening, but perhaps more threatening than actually killing. So, because if you make an attack run, a kill run, where you see a tank or an enemy unit that you want dead, and you get this unit out and up and fire, and if you don't kill that unit, and that happens, Panzerstrikes, even at point blank range, you're hitting on 3s, so that's 1/3 of the time that you're not actually hitting. And maybe you have, if you hit, 66% chance you hit. If you hit, maybe it's only a 50-50 shot that you actually kill it. So, right? And that small team becomes horribly exposed. So they are better off, in my view, as units that threaten the enemy to keep their distance than actually going out hunting and killing stuff. Then we have a 222, which is a perfect little armored car. The only thing that I would change about a 222 is that it's open-topped. But it has a light autocannon, it has a coaxial MMG, it has recce, it's really a good little armored car. Those light autocannons in the side of enemy tanks, that works. So see if you can find a flank where it can sort of go around cover, and if it gets shot at, stay close to that cover so that you can recce back behind. And don't use it too early in your turns, because you can only recce if you haven't actually done anything with the tank. So see if you can draw out enemy fire and then recce away, and then move back next turn. A Panzer 3. Panzer 3s are good. They are worth the points. So that's always good. And it has a light anti-tank gun. The only thing I would want is a medium anti-tank gun if you can, but it's perfectly fine as it is. It's pretty cheap. Yeah. And then Emil has quite a lot of transport. And I think perhaps even too much. This is one of the few things that I would change in your list, even for a new player. I think you have too much transport, Emil. It's not bad per se, but it's just you don't need this much, I think. Emil has 2 trucks. Each of them 12-man trucks, so he can actually put most of his infantry in just those 2 trucks, including some of the teams, right? And that's just it's too much. You don't need all that. 1 Kugelwagen is good to put in a flamethrower team, or maybe even the Panzertract. giving it extra range. And then an SDE KFZ 251. This is a Hanomac, right? This is the long Hanomac, the 12-man Hanomac. It has pindle-mounted MMG, as does the trucks, by the way, so you might actually use your trucks. You don't need to put stuff in them. You can just use them backline, sitting there, shooting at your MMGs. You can do the same with your half-track. And you're even better, your half-track can run through area terrain, through rough ground. It can drive into that, just sit in a ruin or like soft cover, a forest, and just shoot out of that. That's good. So quite a lot of transport, but having noticed that he does have pindle-mounted MMGs on it, I can see a point. Yeah, it's actually a nice army, I mean. I really like it. I hope you find it enjoyable, and I hope you found some of my advice usable in the future as well. And I'll see you Saturday. Cheers.